Nadhim Zahawi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hack. And it is a pleasure to be here in person to serve under your chairship. And I want to thank the member for Strangford for securing this debate, and of course both the members for Airdrie and Shotts and the Shadow Minister, the member for Tooting as well. She referred to Edward Jenner and Blossom, and of course we all owe a huge debt of gratitude to Dame Sarah Gilbert, who now has, I think, a Barbie from Mattel, actually, in her physicality, and I hope will encourage many, many young kids to take up science, as I think a number of us in this hall have done. I'm a proud chemical engineer from University College London, as I'm sure colleagues here know. I think it's really appropriate on a day like this, and I'm sure the whole House would want to join me in congratulating, as the Shadow Minister referred to them, the sort of the backroom incredible scientists who have allowed us to really deal with this pandemic with the incredible work that they've done. I want to just congratulate Sir Shankar Balasubramanian and Sir David Klenerman. They've just received the Breakthrough Prize, which is referred to, I think, as the Oscars of Science, a $3 million prize for their work at Cambridge on next-generation genome sequencing. And if I bring it to life to the House, it took $3 billion and about 10 years to sequence the first human genome. Their work on next-generation genome sequencing now allows that same work to take an hour and about $1,000, making a real contribution to future discovery. And for those who don't know her, I would also encourage people to look at the work of Professor Kathleen Karinko, not from the United Kingdom, but someone who's had to travel a long journey, I think, from Hungary to the United States of America, the University of Pennsylvania, because her personal struggle, again, she has been awarded the Breakthrough Prize today, allowed BioNTech and Moderna, using her patents on her work on mRNA, to develop those incredible vaccines. By calling this debate, I think the Honourable Member has really provided us an opportunity to discuss the world-leading contributions UK researchers have made in increasing our ability to tackle this disease. Investment by this government has assisted the science that has underpinned the development of many of the tools we need to harness and to ultimately defeat this virus. UK-based research has provided insights crucial for improving surveillance, patient care, and of course management, and developing new diagnostics, therapies, and vaccines. Identifying how the immune system responds to COVID-19 is critical to understanding so many of the unknowns around this novel virus. For example, Dr. Herc, why does it make some people sick and not others? What constitutes effective immunity, and how long might that immunity last? The immune system is extremely complex, and so to make rapid and effective progress in our knowledge, a nationally coordinated approach was needed, as the member for Strangford referred to. This is why £6.5 million of funding has been provided from UK Research and Innovation, UKRI, and the National Institute for Health Research, NIHR, into the UK Coronavirus Immunology Consortium. The UK is world-leading in terms of the quality of its immunology research, and this innovative project has enabled us in government to commission at pace the research needed to understand the immunology of COVID-19, and as a result, successfully delivered real benefits to patients and, of course, public health. The key themes identified by UK CIC included understanding primary immunity, describing the body's immune response to COVID-19 and how this might explain the different risk presented by the virus to individuals, i.e., Why do some get sicker than others? What constitutes protective immunity? Identifying how an effective immune response can be generated and how it can be maintained to prevent reinfection. This was essential for the development of effective vaccines and understanding why some people remain vulnerable even after vaccination. Unpicking the mechanism of the disease caused by immunopathology, how the body's own immune response to the virus can cause damage to tissues and organs, and how this can be stopped is really essential knowledge for the development of effective treatments. Identifying immune vaccine evasion, how might the virus evade the body's protective immune response through natural infection or vaccination, leaving people vulnerable to reinfection. I'd just like to highlight, Dr. Hook, some further research that we have commissioned and funded in the field of diagnostics. COVID-19 National Diagnostic Research and Evaluation Platform, the CONDOR study, is accelerating how quickly promising COVID diagnostics make it into real-world use and out of the lab. This will support diagnosis of infection and management of patients with suspected COVID-19, important really for the subsequent waves of infection in the post-pandemic setting. Vaccine development and deployment, we all know the benefits that both doses of a vaccine can bring to many people, and indeed colleagues have mentioned that today. Data from Public Health England estimates that 2 doses of the COVID vaccine offers protection of around 96% against hospitalisation. The United Kingdom has been at the forefront of vaccine development, helped by the investment that we have made into this vital research. The ChAdOx vaccine platform, already shown to be safe and effective through a previously funded phase 1 trial against the Middle East respiratory syndrome, or MERS, as the Honourable Member Strangford quite rightly referred to in his speech, was quickly adapted to develop a vaccine candidate against COVID-19 and launched human trials in April 2020. In parallel, project funding was also provided to investigate and develop more efficient vaccine manufacture processes, enabling vaccines to be made more rapidly. However, Dr. Huck, the development of an effective vaccine is just the first step, and I would like to commend the efforts of the NHS in the world-class rollout of the vaccine programme in adults and young people across our 4 nations. But our efforts in understanding why some people do not develop a protective response even after receiving 2 doses of the vaccine is an important next step in our research portfolio. Hence, the government has commissioned important studies to understand vaccine responses in the most vulnerable in our society. However, despite the success of the current vaccination campaign, we are doing more by investing in research that will inform us of how to deliver vaccinations in the future and to understand why some immunosuppressed people are not fully protected. I meet regularly, Dr. Hook, as you know, with charities that support clinically extremely vulnerable patients and have heard and share their concerns regarding the risks to this group from contracting COVID-19. There is a breadth of research activity being funded looking at vaccine response in immunocompromised individuals. The OCTAVE study is examining COVID-19 vaccine responses in clinically at-risk groups, including in patients with certain immunosuppressed conditions. Building on that work that we did with the OCTAVE trial, we're funding OCTAVE Duo, which is a new clinical trial to determine whether a 3rd dose of vaccine will improve the immune response for people who have weakened immune systems. And additionally, the research to be commissioned following the recent vaccine immune failure research called by UKRI will investigate the strength and durability of the immune response, which I know colleagues are interested in understanding better in a wide range of people, including people with conditions that result in a weakened immune system, such as HIV. The development of novel treatments for COVID-19 has been made possible due to the work and the funding that we have provided immunology research. It includes, of course, the UK RI and the NIHR, as referred to by a number of colleagues, funded projects looking at the immune response generated during infection with Covid-19, which revealed that the body produces harmful immune responses that attack its own tissues and organs. This leads to severe disease and may underlie some forms of long COVID, but further research is needed to better understand this. Research of this type has helped the development of new and effective treatment options, including the recently approved novel monococcal antibody treatment, Ronapreve. This novel treatment development and introduction was also supported by a UK RI and NIHR funded trial. And I would just very briefly turn to some of the questions the honourable members have asked. The member for Strangford asked about long COVID, which can have very serious and debilitating long-term effects for thousands of people across the UK, which of course can make daily life extremely challenging. We are providing significant funding to fund several studies to help better understand the long COVID problem, improve diagnosis, and of course find new treatments. In July, the department provided just shy of 20 million, I think 19.6 million pounds in funding towards an extensive programme of 15 new research studies, which will allow researchers across the UK to draw together their expertise from analysing long COVID among those suffering long-term effects and the health and care professionals supporting them. The projects will understand the better condition and identifying it, evaluating effectiveness of different care services on those people, identifying effective treatments such as drugs, rehabilitation, recovery, to treat people suffering from long COVID, improving home monitoring, which is an issue. I'll give way to them.
And I'm very encouraged with that. Minister, would it be an intention of your own department to share the results of those studies with all of the different regions of the United Kingdom so we can all benefit, since health matters are devolved? Therefore, the evidential base and the final conclusion of these studies would be very important for us all. Thank you.
I completely share his concerns on that issue, and I think it's important that we look at that very, very seriously. He also asked about do we have enough supply of monococcal antibody treatments, and the regulatory approval, I can tell him, and clinical policy will provide information on which patients could benefit from the treatments and how much supply is needed. We are working with the companies to ensure we have a supply of these products in the coming months. Which patients are likely to have access to those treatments? Again, NHS England Antibody Expert Group is currently designing clinical guidance on how the NHS should use these treatments, and that includes defining and identifying the eligible patients cohorts that are likely to benefit following a positive COVID test. And in terms of deployment of the treatments, part of the work that NHS England Expert Group are doing on the clinical guidance, identifying potential deployment in hospital and possible pathways, specialist clinics, and through at-home services following the positive test. He also asked about what research is looking at long-term immune response in individuals who are vaccinated. We in the department are funding several studies to immune response, the SARS-CoV-2 immunity and reinfection evaluation, the SIREN study in healthcare workers, the Vivaldi study in care home residents and workers, the COVID-19 infection survey led by the ONS of repeat household visits looking at who has antibodies to COVID, either from vaccination or previous infection, so a number of important studies. He asked about vaccine manufacturing in the longer term. I can tell him that in 2018, UKRI announced £66 million for the UK's first dedicated vaccine manufacturing innovation centre, VMIC. The goal was to promote and develop and accelerate the growth of the UK vaccine industry. When the pandemic began, UKRI reacted with, I think, unparalleled scale and speed to ensure all investments were ready and able to respond to the challenge, and that they were plugged into the UK wider vaccine, life science and pharmaceutical ecosystem. An additional £131 million was made available as an investment in I think it was May 2020, bringing the total for VMIC to just shy of 200 million, 196 million. VMIC will be able to deliver about 200 million doses of vaccine of any technology at scale per annum, so a big, big investment. He also asked about what the government is doing to support the development, production, procurement of vaccines for the future, as well as, obviously, VMIC. We're planning for all scenarios in the fight against COVID and its variants. So some of the recent analysis, which supports our understanding that both the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and AstraZeneca vaccine, which are currently being deployed here in the UK, appear to work really well against the current dominant variants of COVID, and continuing to administer these vaccines at scale remains our key to bringing the virus under control. We're also assessing our existing portfolio against current variants, working closely with vaccine manufacturers and Public Health England to understand the efficacy of our current portfolio. And of course, we think we're in a good place vis-à-vis the interim advice from the JCVI on the booster campaign, which we hope to begin later on this month. And then finally, he asked about was there any existing research that helped to accelerate development of vaccines. And even before the COVID-19 pandemic, he quite rightly cited the work of the Oxford team. They were already, because of funding from UKRI, doing that research, and thank goodness for that. I'd like to conclude, Dr. Hart, by saying that I fully recognise the tremendous impact that the pandemic has had on so many people. Commissioning high-quality immunology research is an essential part of our armoury to fight this virus. We will continue to implement research findings and, at the same time, commission and fund new projects that will deepen our understanding of the disease and identify further defences that will keep us safe. Throughout this pandemic, Dr. Hart, the government has been there to support and invest in research. As we shift our focus from the initial impact of the pandemic, we intend to continue providing funding and support for COVID-19 research, which underlines precisely why the UK has long been and continues to be a great place for world-leading research and researchers. I commend the statement.